Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Random Track. I am your Union General, Christopher Ingle, joined as always by my brother in arms, Major Brennan, the mystical Mont Brennan. We're going to take care of these cues today.
I do declare.
Today's episode is from Star Trek Voyager, Season 3, Episode 11, The Q and the Gray. And it does involve a civil war between the Gray. So or the Q, how appropriate is that? Brennan, we love us some Q on Random Trek.
Yes, we sure do.
What'd you think of going into this one?
I've seen this one before. I was very aware of it.
Mhm.
Q is such an interesting character in terms of there are some really, really great episodes with Q and some more average episodes with Q.
Right.
We'll discuss it where this one falls.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we will. We will. All right. Well, so this episode opens up with the Voyager crew looking at a supernova.
Mhm.
And they're scanning it. Janeway decides, all right, it's time to rest. We'll go to sleep. She goes to her quarters and find that Q has appeared and has turned her quarters into a love den and would very bluntly like to mate with Janeway.
Basically turned it into the honeymoon suite.
He really did, but in all the cheesiest ways.
Yeah.
So the first kind of chunk of the episode is just Q trying to woo Janeway.
Mhm.
Um, and Q believes that just because he's a Q, the fact that he wants to be with Janeway should be an honor. And she should be, flabbergasted and just overwhelmed and accept his passes. But Janeway insists, get off my ship. Which he does at first, but it doesn't last for long. He comes back again trying to explain what's going on, and we're introduced to a female Q, played beautifully by Susie Plaxton, who's one of my
Oh yeah.
favorite Star Trek
Susie,
regulars.
the great Star Trek Susie Plaxton.
Yes. She always is a tough
Kalar.
character. Kalar, that's what I think of most, but also playing was it Shran's love
Yeah.
interest?
And this character's a lot more like Kalar.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of being kind of snarky, kind of
Yep.
but having that Lauren the Call kind of energy.
Mhm. So Q decides to take Janeway to the continuum to explain what's going on because Voyager is being hit by supernovas, and as they say, a supernova is rare. This should not be happening.
Mm-hmm.
But when they get to the continuum, it's the American Civil War in antebellum South,
Yeah.
kind of.
Well,
Um,
not
so
antebellum, how about bellum?
well, kind of, yeah. But he explains that there is a civil war going on between the Q. After Janeway helped Mr. Quinn in last season, it created kind of a hoopla in the continuum. There are some who want to grow and to evolve and to do different things. There are some who feel this to be blasphemous, and it created a division amongst the Qs.
Mm-hmm.
And Q believes that if he could create a child, which hasn't happened in centuries, we'll get to that because totally wrong.
Like billions of years.
Well, yeah. But he believes that if he could have with the omnipotent powers of the Q, but the compassion and curiosity of humankind, then it could create a whole new race of Q that could lead them into the future.
Mm-hmm.
But they get fired upon immediately, and Q gets injured in the process. They escape the house that they're in, and Janeway takes a white flag and goes to speak with the Colonel Q on the other side. And we, huh?
Played by the great Harvard Presnell.
It is played by Harv Presnell.
from that Paint Your Wagon.
Yeah, he knows his stuff, and he's done a lot of stuff. Actually, I
It's
I
too
love
bad he
him.
couldn't sing. They called the Red Mariah in this.
Oh, yeah, that would be true. Very true. Um, but all that aside, he actually, I just realized he also played Lois Lane's father in Lois and Clark.
Oh, that's right, he did,
Sam
yes.
Lane, yeah. Now that I thought about it, I was like, he's Sam Lane. I knew I'd
And he
seen some.
was the dad in Fargo.
He was the dad at Fargo. That's
Yep.
right.
Yeah. What's
Oh,
her name? It's dad.
I did forget about that. Wow. Okay. Anyway, so we move on. But anyway, so the other Q, we'll call them the Southern Qs, want to execute Q and Janeway for their crimes. Meanwhile, the female Q is losing her powers due to the destabilization of the Q continuum. They need to get inside the Q continuum fast to save Q and Janeway. So she shows them how they can use a supernova to get into the Q continuum on their own, which they do, and manage to get a hold of Q weapons, which they look like Southern musket or U.S. 19th century muskets, but they are not. They are very dangerous and powerful weapons, enough that Q himself was
They,
injured.
Winchester rifles, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. I said muskets, but I'm
Yeah, I was
off.
going to say, this is after muskets.
Should be muskets. Anyway, um, so they do manage to save them and have a ceasefire. The female Q and our Q decide, you know what, we will create a child together, as they did have a thing before.
Hmm.
And so they procreate right in front of Janeway. All they do is, do you remember, what was the name of that show? Was it not Wish on a Star? Out of This World. Do you remember Out of This World in
Oh
the
my gosh,
late
I don't
80s, early
remember that.
90s? It was this really cheesy TV show, but the daughter, the main character, was an alien. And when she put her fingers together, she froze time.
Hmm.
Anyway, it
Oh, it's
always
not quite
reminded
what
me of
they
it.
do here. Okay.
No, they put their fingers together and create a baby.
And yeah, it's like, well, that saves a lot of time.
Yep. And then they're all sent back to Voyager and everything is fine. And Q decides to name Janeway as the godmother, which in our earliest episodes, we reviewed Q2 and saw what happened to baby Q.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the start of that. So what did you think going into a little bit of kind of a sequel to the episode with Mr. Quinn?
I have to admit, I don't think I'm the biggest fan of Q in Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
I'm much more the fan of him on Next Generation
Right.
and later in Picard and other things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much in Voyager. It's so weird because the last episode with Quinn, which I forget what that episode's called. What is that episode called? The one with Q, with Quinn?
Um,
IQ or
it was Death Wish.
Death Wish? That's a very serious episode.
Great episode.
This is definitely more your lighthearted
Mm-hmm.
Q romp with Q not understanding. Apparently, Q didn't understand the Me Too movement.
No, he doesn't get it.
And I mean, the whole interesting idea. I mean, it is an interesting concept of the Q can't really progress as a civilization because they're trapped in this godlike omnipotence that I guess has become kind of boring after a while.
Right.
It's interesting to have these two different factions because Q has had the most interaction with humanity. I'm sure that it was Quinn that got the idea to kill these, corporeal beings are interesting because
Mm-hmm.
they can determine what to do with themselves.
Right.
So it's an interesting idea for sure.
It is an interesting idea here, but as we know, and many people try to do having a child does not solve problems.
No, 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 no.
It really doesn't. And I gotta say that this feels half baked.
I would
Like
agree.
I
I would
love the
agree.
comedy of him trying to woo Janeway. It's funny. It's funny. It doesn't get old. He's doing what he's doing, and Janeway's always resisting, and I love that. And I got to
Mhm.
admit, the puppy. My favorite scene in this whole thing is the puppy.
Oh, the puppy, too
He
cute.
so he lets an Irish setter appear behind her desk, and she loves it because remember Molly was her Irish setter back in Indiana.
Yeah.
And she misses her. And Q is like, she's like, send it back. Q is like, no, just let me talk. Just talk. And so
Hmm.
they're talking, and you can see her loving on the puppy, but that's when the female Q first arrives. And my absolute favorite line of the whole thing just shows how snarky this woman is. What are you doing with the dog? And they look at the puppy, and then she goes, I'm not talking about the puppy. And that's kind
Oh,
of southern, like, oh, I like
that's
this one.
the puppy.
Now, here's the thing about this woman. She's actually a very proud person. I've read beta canon on Adventures of the Enterprise E, and there's a point where they have to go to the galactic barrier on the outside because that's always a common thing.
Of course.
So they go to the galactic barrier, but it deals with kind of a side story. Picard and Q are doing something. It's been a long time since I've read this book, but I do remember the female Q shows up with the baby, and she, is like, my child is the savior of the continuum, yada yada yada. And Dr. Crusher, without missing a beat, goes, oh, that's great. My child is time hopping with the Traveler. What's yours doing again? And it actually infuriates the female Q. Your son, a mere mortal with the Traveler? What? So it's beta, but we get a sense that there's a pride issue. She's a mom, and she becomes, very proud of what her son can do. Of course, we know from Q2 that once he grows up and becomes like his father, uh, she wants nothing to do with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. Is some fun moments in this episode, but
Mhm.
it's entertaining, yes. Anything beyond that, not really.
Yeah, I mean, once it gets to the Civil War part, I actually get bored.
I mean, the costumes are nice, but that's about it.
Yeah, the costumes are really well done. I love the idea here, what Q is trying to do. But and actually, here's the thing: the idea of a Q Civil War, I like that
Yeah,
idea,
it's a cool idea.
but it's marred by what Q feels the solution is.
Well, I just had an interesting thought about the Civil War
Mhm,
because that's the most interesting part. I will agree.
mhm,
When the revolutions of governments always happen
mhm,
when people get new outside ideas. You know, and the idea that with Q and with Quinn and with others interacting with humanity, the new ideas come in that then set things, that complacency going on in the continuum is challenged because new ideas have come along and the Q have witnessed other species, some that have gone, oh, we want that, not the blase of our own existence.
right.
And that's a cool idea. I like that idea.
Well,
But as an episode, it's where they
I, I'm with you.
fun time with Q, and that's about it.
It is, and it's rather quick, and I don't mean the episode. Like the good stuff with Q is too fast.
Hmm.
And I agree with you, but the idea of the Q having done everything was already approached. And there really was no sense of how do we evolve and how do we
Yeah,
grow.
yeah,
There was no sense that made me concerned with that. Um, I feel like this is two different ideas that were mashed together,
yeah.
and quite hastily. It's definitely not a big winner here in
Yep,
my book.
no,
I
I
don't
agree.
hate it by any means,
No,
but there's a reason. This is one I will go back to Death Wish. I will even go back to Q2. Q2 is humorous in a lot of ways.
yeah.
And I love it. And it's due to the charm of Keegan Delancey. Here, there's no charm. The charm is gone and missing. There's no chance for us to love and hate Q at the same time. It's like, let's just move on. Why are you here?
Okay.
Yep. So,
So let's talk about the behind the scenes right now.
is there behind the scenes on this
No,
one?
not really. They filmed it in Griffith Park. That's about it.
Fancy. Yeah, and actually overall, I'll say it that my the best part is just Susie Plaxton. She steals the
She's
show
great. She's great.
every time. I love her so much. She's great. Great Star Trek regular.
Delightfully sarcastic.
So good at it. And for years, I didn't realize, and I don't know how I missed it. When I was watching this in real time, younger, did not realize Susie Plaxton was also Kalar. I was like,
Hmm.
wait, what? What? And then Enterprise and the female Andorian again, not picking up on it. And it was in recent years I was watching and listening to that voice. And it
She's
what
the
wait,
female Andorian?
she's the female Andorian, yeah.
My word.
Yeah, she's okay. So if I remember correctly, she's on Kalar. She was Lieutenant Salar, a Vulcan in
Hmm.
Next Generation. She's been the female Q, and then she played Tara in the episode Ceasefire in the
Mm.
second season. So yeah, she's played 4 different Star Trek species.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think she is the female to play the most species, I believe.
Yeah, I see the picture here. Yeah, Tara from Ceasefire. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
interesting.
But yeah, even if you're a fan at all, she's also How I Met Your Mother. That's the biggest thing for her lately. Uh um
Confess, I haven't actually watched
she was
any
the
of it.
mother. You didn't ever watch that? She was
No.
Jason Segel's mom in that.
Oh, that makes
She's great.
sense. That makes sense.
Anyway, looks nothing. I was still like, what? And anyway, I love it. Oh, she's even done the voice of an Amazonian in Futurama. Keep on tying it all in there. Anyway, I love her. She's great. She's wonderful. She's
Yeah,
awesome. All right. Final thoughts. I don't think it's a recommendation. Like I said, watch it once. You're not gonna watch it again.
it's fun and there's some laughs, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's half done, kind of.
Hmm. Hmm.
All right. Well, we've got some fun scheduling stuff coming up for you in the next few weeks. So next week, Brennan is going to be on his own away mission. So the
Indeed.
captain gets left with the
To
ship.
Griffith Park,
Yes, he's going to Griffith Park. So
apparently.
your captain is going to do something fun. Uh, we had a blast reviewing Subspace Rhapsody for Strange New Worlds. We had a blast with
We
that.
did.
Of course, we had Doman on here.
Yes.
Your captain has stumbled through the annals of YouTube upon a user that has done a musical version of Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Hmm.
And I've listened to some of it and I'm impressed.
I'm jealous that you
Very
and Dolman are going to get
impressed.
to do this next week and not
Yeah,
me.
I did send you a link to the video if you want to
Yes, I
watch it.
got the link. Yes.
Definitely watch it. But yeah, so I've listened to some of it, but not all of it. So Doman and I are going to listen to it and record it in real time and just react to it.
Yep.
No, no
And that
pre-plan,
will
no watch
be
ahead.
and that
That'll
will
be
be
next week.
next week's episode.
It'll be next
Yes.
week. And then the following week is
Yes.
movie night on the ship.
Yeah.
And we will be taking a look at the 1999 modern classic, The Matrix.
Yeah.
Yes.
With Aaron Dye.
And with my brother, Aaron Dye, who's joined us for that. And then the week after that, we get into the animated world of Star Trek.
You get not one episode, but 3.
3. So let's get the randomizer
Oh
and
boy.
see
Be
what we're
kind to
gonna
us.
get. Yeah. Also, have you seen the poster for season 5 of Lower Decks?
No, I haven't seen the poster yet.
They've
No.
continued the tradition of mocking the original movie
Okay,
posters.
I'll have to take a look.
It's really good. Okay.
So we're going to start with the original animated
Yes.
series.
Season 1, episode 13, the ambergris element.
Okay, just let me bring that up there. The ambergris element.
The ambergris
Interesting.
element.
Ambergris, as they say.
Is it?
How you say
Did
it.
I pronounce it wrong?
I always
Did I?
thought it was ambergris, but maybe I
I thought it was ambergris. I could be. I
you get
absolutely.
what you're here for, folks. Or did it say nothing? No. All right. The ambergris element.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Then for lower decks, last season finale, season 4, episode 10, Old Friends, New Planets.
And this is a what show?
Lower decks.
All right.
Ooh, this was the return of
Right.
Locarno.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So season 4, episode 10.
Yup. And then for Star Trek Prodigy, Star Trek Prodigy is giving us the 2-part opening into the breach of the new season, season 2.
Okay, so old friends, new planets, that's lower decks.
Mm-hmm.
And then Prodigy, you say?
Yep.
Season 2, the first 2 episodes?
First 2 episodes, yeah. Right off the bat, it gave us both. Nice. It's a lot to watch, but they're animated. We'll get through them pretty quick.
And let's hope that there is a season 3 of Prodigy.
I really do hope that as well. I do. All right, but Brennan, where can the people find you?
Well, you can find me on X at Brennan Mystical. Threads and Instagram at Brennan Blue. You can also find me on YouTube and this podcast at Page Turners They Were Not. Also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
And you can catch me on Twitch and Twitter at Ingle1984. But as always, we end every episode. Kapla! And live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.